Yep.
Guys, can I just start off with a question I was going to ask at the end, but I need you both here for this one.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, get out of the way. I know Kenny too is always a topic.
Yeah.
Is it still part of the thinking?
No.
No, it's not. I just wanted to just add one quick footnote in terms of sequels.
Yeah.
Because we've just got The Incredibles 2 come out.
Yeah.
We've got Jurassic World.
Yeah.
The first Jurassic Park film was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Incredibles 2, which is a kids' film, is like 14, 15 years
Yes.
ago. So people obviously don't care about the timeline.
No, that's right.
I just thought that was a thought worth putting into...
Well, you put that thought in my head before, and I have to tell you, on my drive home from being with you last time, I gave it a lot of thought and came up with an idea for it, which is my son played Kenny's son, and he was very small when we made the film. He is now the size of a Viking. He's bigger than both Shane and I put together and stands about 6'4", and I thought it could be interesting if Kenny finds out that once his son gets to the age of about 22, 23, his son is embarrassed by him in some way. So you kind of have this flip-flop. Before it was the father and son, now it's the son and father.
Now,
So, well, you know,
Kenny's kid.
So there's a small 1 or 2% chance that it might happen, but...
yeah, I wouldn't be hanging from the heels.
No,
waiting
that's
for,
right.
You know,
now, seriously, I hope you're not tired about talking about...
No.
I do want to talk about the film itself.
Yeah.
But the making of the film is obviously getting a lot of publicity,
Yes.
I think, for the right reasons. I hope that you're not tired talking about it.
Not at all.
No.
Because it appears to be a very instructive exercise in how to make a film. It seems to be highlighting
Yeah.
some of the shortcomings
Yeah.
in the way films are made in Australia. So can you just quickly outline the approach that you guys took in making Brothers Nest?
Yeah. Do you want to start with the shortcomings? Yeah. So, the difficult thing with making films, obviously, is getting people on board. You know, you have a script or an idea, and it's such a subjective business. You know, how I imagine something will be different to how you imagine something. And that there lieth the problem. You know, who is going to invest in someone's dream? And even when it's on paper, everyone reads a script differently. You know, he walks into a majestic bedroom. Well, what does that mean? You know, what's your idea of majestic? So, in my case, Kenny was an absolute blessing, but also a bit of a curse, because I was so absolutely branded as a comedy guy. But also, more to the point, the craft of Kenny. I worked so hard to make sure that film looked like a real documentary, that the craft was so well embedded and hidden that no one saw it. So in many ways, when I tried to put forward scripts of other genres or what have you, no one could quite see the correlation between this guy that shot his brother with a video camera and what seems to be a pretty taut, tense sort of dramatic film, or a science fiction movie, or any of the 7 scripts that I've been working on for the last sort of 10 years. So, and of course it's common for all filmmakers that some of those babies perish before they ever see the light of day, and I've had my fair share of those. And one of my pet projects that I was incredibly excited about fell over just when the script for this locked on my door. And so when I read this, Jamie Brown and Chris Parlow had fashioned this script for Shane and myself. And it was incredibly flattering to read it until, of course, we saw where it was going. But I immediately got excited because I saw in a heartbeat that this was the film that could swing that pendulum for me and hopefully make things a little easier. But I also thought, I really don't want to spend the next 5 years getting this film up. So how can I get this to happen quicker? And I really have, unfortunately, one of my best mates passed away while we were making the film, and it was Craig Carter, and he'd done the sound design on all of my films, and he was probably my greatest champion. He was the guy that always would get on the phone to me and kind of be saying, come on, get out there and do it, go back and do. He was always saying, stop trying to make a film in the industry, stop asking permission. You didn't ask for permission when you did Kenny. Go and do it Maverick style like you did with Kenny. And I kept saying, well, yeah, but that means me working on a budget of $200,000. So, but anyway, Shane agreed with him. And Shane said, let's do this film. We can shoot it at your farm. And so that was the beginnings of it. So the beginnings, and so that was the way I went, you know what, he's right. So then I sat down and I actually thought about the Kenny I thought, okay, I'll go there. I'll think about how we did Kenny and what was actually successful and not successful about getting it up and running. And the short answer of it all was the independent and regional cinemas.
Right.
Their investment in the film, their ability to actually take ownership of a movie. You know, they're not just pumping them through, they actually care about the stuff that goes through their cinema.
So basically what you did was you kind of adapted the crowdfunding model and applied it to independent regional cinemas where they prepay something that they would have paid later in the process. They basically pay an advance on the ticket sales.
On the ticket sales.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in return for that, we would offer up as filmmakers an incredible, a relationship where we would handcraft marketing specifically to their patrons.
Right.
So the cinemas that have come on board as partners, their patrons have known about this film for a year. So while we were making the film, we've been sending videos and we've been telling the cinemas to keep it mum. Don't put this on your social media. This is just for your patrons. Don't let it out there yet. This is a gift. And so
I walked in an elevator in Sydney and a lady had just come from a cinema that was on board with Brothers Nest. And when she walked in the lift, she said, "Oh my God, you're Shane Jacobson." And she said, "You're not going to believe this. I've just come from a cinema this morning where we were sitting in the cinema where we had one of our personal messages where we would literally handcraft a little piece to camera that would actually be for that cinema, for that actual screen. So people sitting there, we'd go, hello there, Wallace Cinemas in Mitcham. And of course people are sitting in the cinema and we come on their screen and mention the name of the cinema they're sitting in and people go, wow, hang on, they're actually talking to us in here. And she said it was freaky. She said people in the cinema all went, hey! And like audibly made a noise because it felt so weird that in fact what you were saying was customised.
And so that was the idea, and they came on board, pretty quickly.
Now this is, so you're basically applying sort of the Kenny model to this and expanding it a bit.
Well, yes. Yeah. Because what's different, of course, now is I've got a star that's so there's more leverage than I ever had with Kenny, and it's all about just getting someone to put their foot in the pond first, and then everyone follows.
But just to be absolutely serious, this is not something that you'd want to do on every film. Hopefully, this is something that is sending a message to the Australian film industry that says that there are shortcomings in the way that films are made. You said in a very good interview at South by Southwest with, I think it was AU Review, the quote's wonderful. If I go through the normal process that's expected of me in this country, that's another 4 years.
Absolutely.
What is that process? Very quickly, what is that process, and how must it be improved? To both of you.
It's a hard one because we're very lucky in this country because we have government support, right? But what comes along with government support is government mandates, government rules. It's a different mindset to how things are done. My dad was a public servant for 35 years, and he would tell me about the frustrations of working within a government system and how that can work. Hollywood is a business. If you're making films and they're turning over coin, you're going to sustain your position. There's a lot of second guessing. Look, all I can tell you is the only story I have that is I got to have a meeting at Pixar. I met up with at Pixar, and I won't mention names, but it was one of the main guys there, and he was asking how it worked over here, and I started talking about the obsession we have over here with readers. Whenever you try to develop a script, you're constantly being, given readers to read your script. And he was sort of astounded by that, because he said, but isn't every new voice that comes on board is another set of subjective eyes that has a subjective opinion about it? And then doesn't that change it? Because he said, that's what happens every time you bring a director on or you bring another producer on. It's another set of eyes that will change. So what happens with scripts is you can have 4 or 5 script editors over a period of 6 years, and every single one of them will have a totally different idea of what the film should be. So what happens in this country is you have very passionate people both in the government positions, like everyone is very passionate and they're all very sincere and genuine about wanting this film to be as good as they hope it can be. But it's this collective that keeps morphing and shifting, and you're all just moving through the moors, and it just snakes and winds and shifts, and then it falls over. And then some of those people fritter away, and then the next people come and pick the idea up, and then it morphs and twists and diverts and shifts. A lot of this is very universal, but it's just the simple fact of it. I always used to make the joke, dinner party goes for 2 hours, same length as a movie. I don't spend 8 years preparing for a dinner party. What's the obsession? But it is frustrating. All I can say is I haven't had a single week since the release of Kenny where I haven't tried to make another movie. Every day I've got to think. My partner would tell you every morning I go, another day, feet hit the floor. Let's see how we go. It's either it's all air until you're there. I always say So,
on average, an Australian filmmaker should be producing and releasing a film every 2 years. What do you think of that?
I agree, and that is what this model is about. What I want to try and do is set up a system whereby, look, the bottom line is the world has changed. Cinema is changing, right? Cinema is not the temple of entertainment the way it used to be. We're all so distracted by all the different ways that content is absorbed. We have to be more clever about how we make films, and it's not just one thing. It's not just the model we've come up with. There is room for tentpole movies, for big event movies, and I think there's still room for mid-range films. But I think it's horses for courses. We can't just go down one road. We need a number of different ways of making films, and this model works well for anything. I think from about 500,000 to about 3 million. Anything over 3 million, I think it starts to get a bit unwieldy with this model. But I'm sort of not. I'm kind of going all over the place. But it's not an easy answer, because if it was, we would have had that answer.
Will there be an easy solution?
Yeah. It's just there just isn't. It's difficult, and I understand it, but it's. I just got fed up with it, and I thought, you know what? I need to. If at the end of the day, all I'm trying to do is get this to an audience, then I'm just going to go straight to the people that are actually dealing with the audience. It's a very bizarre thing to me. What I do find odd, and I found this odd with a lot of film schools. When I was at film school, we're being taught how to direct and how to talk to actors. I barely met an actor. No one ever came in, and I thought, this is weird. Why am I? And that was the thing that made me go to acting class and learn how to act. I thought, I better learn how this all works. As a filmmaker, hardly anyone ever goes up to the movie convention. It's where all the exhibitors go every year to look at the product that's coming. Why not? When I went up there with Jason Byrne, they were all looking at us going, why are you up here? And I went, well, we want to talk to the exhibitors. We want to see how we can progress things forward on a quicker, and are they willing to get behind something from the get-go? And the good news is they are.